You with me, Brother Jason? Okay. Verse 16. Pardon me?
16?
Yeah, I'm just going off my notes. Okay. Well, I'm just looking at the times of the ends. I'm not trying to walk through the entire chapter. Verse 16, I'm saying, is the time of the end. It says, "But he that cometh against him shall do according to his own will, and none shall stand before him, and he shall stand in the glorious land, by which his hand shall be consumed." This is Pompey. Primarily, when we deal with this, we deal with Pompey because he stands in the glorious land. Pompey does. But verse 16, before he gets to the glorious land, it says, "But he that cometh against him shall do according to his will. And none shall stand before him, and he shall stand in the glorious land." So the he here is coming against him. The first phrase, right? You got he and him. And the he is the one that stands in the glorious land. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so who's the him? At the very beginning of the verse. "But he that cometh against him." Who's him?
That would be the king of the south.
Would. How would you determine that?
I look at this as the same thing as Daniel 11:40. And the phrase "shall do according to his own will" is hinting of the papacy, as in verse 36. So he that shall come against him, the he that shall come against him does according to his own will.
Well, wait a second though. Before you jump to the application of verse 40, if you weren't going to go there, how would you do it? How would you determine who the him is if you were going to?
As far as grammatically?
Yes.
By going up
To the previous verse.
Yes.
So what's the previous verse say? "So the king of the north shall come and cast up a mount and take the most fenced cities, and the arms of the south shall not withstand, neither his chosen people, neither shall there be any strength to withstand." So the king of the north has just wiped out the king of the south. And verse 16 says, "But he that cometh against him," against the king of the north.
Okay.
Oh, you mean the one that just got wiped out?
Yeah, "But he that cometh against him shall do according to his own will, and none shall stand before him." Okay, so what I'm saying here is, Uriah Smith would tell you that this is the rise of what I call pagan Rome. This is the rise of pagan Rome. And the second step of pagan Rome's rise to power, once it starts moving forward through history, is the glorious land. But the first step is when he takes out the king of the north, when he takes out Macedonia and Syria. Okay, he first takes them on. You see that? So how many obstacles is pagan Rome going to have to overcome in order to be established in the world? 3. Okay, so what's the first one? It's right there. "But he that cometh against him." Him is his first obstacle. "But he that cometh against the king of the north." Who's the king of the north in verse 15? It's this Syria-Macedonian relationship. Now Italy's going to come and start its rise, and it subdues the king of the north. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So the first step for Rome was to the east of it. Was to the east of Rome. Okay, so what's Daniel 8:9 says? Daniel 8:9 says, "And out of one of them came forth a little horn, and waxed exceedingly great toward the south, towards the east, and toward the pleasant land." Okay, it takes on the east, which the east at that point in time is the king of the north.
Which is Syria?
Yes. And he conquers them in 65 BC. That's how Uriah Smith's going to tell it. And he can conquer the glorious land next in 63 BC. You all with me? So my point here is, in verse 16, even though we may have got a little bit deeper than we thought we were going to do, when it says, but he, this is the beginning of pagan Rome's rise to power. But he that cometh against him, the first obstacle in this verse that he's going to take, is this king of the north that has subdued the king of the south in verse 15.
So the king of the south is coming back against the king of the north.
Yes, Rome is. Rome's coming against king of the north, going to become the king of the north once he conquers him.
So just to make sure, the he there in verse 16 would be Rome.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Like
he's
I
going
had
to
in the
conquer
first
the
place.
former king of the north in 65 BC, Syria.
So, so then that would be saying what I said earlier. But he that cometh against him shall do according to his will. That's Rome. That does according to his will.
Yes.
Okay.
And you had the south and north tweaked a bit, but now you're at the point where you were at the point that I want to get to. What's happening when he that cometh against him prevails? He wins. What's he win?
The glorious land.
No, the glorious land's next. The glorious land says, and
Okay.
he shall stand in the glorious land. That's next.
Okay, king of the south.
Well, you're saying that in the terminology of verse 40. That's not what we're looking for. He's conquered his first obstacle. Yes, and his second obstacle is the glorious land. And then the following verses, he's going to conquer Egypt. So if he conquered his first obstacle there in verse 16, now put it into verse 40. What is it? It's 1989. The first obstacle was the king of the south. In verse 40, the first obstacle is the time of the end. When you conquer the first obstacle, it's the time of the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
You follow the logic? You?
I think so.
Okay. So verse 16 is 1989, time of the end.